Today we're going to be talking about a very, very important issue, and I would like you to make sure that you don't change your dial and keep it locked to your radio station. In that way, you're not going to lose out on any information that we're about to give during this program here. There's ways that you can interact with us this evening. You can do that by way of telephone using our toll-free number. It is very easy. It's 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. Toll-free if you're going to be calling from a telecom line. Otherwise, you can call in with your cell phone and we'll take your details down and call you back quickly, in that way saving you costs. The other way is to hook us up on Facebook and Twitter. On Twitter is DOJCD_ZA. That's DOJCD_ZA. On Facebook is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. You can do that. You can do that as well. Zulu ngathetha nathi mlaleli kuleli hlelo lethu lona lethola ngabaka Justice and Constitutional Development kanye ne Government Communication and Information System. What are we talking about this evening, you're probably wondering? Well, we're talking about, like I said, it's a very, very, very important subject, one that I don't want you to miss out on. And we're going to be talking about the importance of drawing up a will and deceased estates. The importance of drawing up a will and deceased estates. Now, we're going to be talking about the estate, meta study estate as well. So make sure that you're part of this show. All right. And our guests this evening, like I always have in the studio, bringing experts to explain these matters to us. I've got the first one here is Ms. Willicah Seopa. Willicah, the Assistant Master at the Office of the Chief Master of the High Court. Am I pronouncing correctly, Willicah?
Yes.
There we go. Kim Willicah Seopa. Willicah, thank you so much for your time and welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And also we've got Mr. Theo Mapheto. Mr. Mapheto is an attorney at Mapheto. Attorneys and Mapheto.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting us.
There we go. So those are our two guests for this evening. Like I said, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. On Twitter, DOJCD_ZA. On Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. All right, let's start like we always start, trying to understand the basics of the topic of this evening. Let's start. What is a will? We cannot think that everybody knows what a will is. Now, for the benefit of those who do not know what a will is,
Yes, the will is a document whereby the testator or the testatrix nominate his beneficiaries in, and also whereby, he also nominate the person who will take charge of the assets, and also to make sure that those assets are transferred to the rightful heirs in terms of his or her will.
All right. We're talking about two things here. We're talking about beneficiaries, and we're also talking about somebody that gets nominated.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying to
take charge, to take control of the assets.
Yeah.
And to make sure that at the end of the day, those assets are transferred to the rightful heirs in terms of that particular will.
So how does it work? Maybe you can jump in there, Tata Mapheto. How does it work? Can you have a beneficiary and not have that? What do we call that person? Maybe let's start there. This person who gets chosen to be the one that executes these things. What are they called?
Well, essentially, when a person dies, you leave a document in which you explain how your estate would have to devolve. So essentially, when you have assets, you would say, I want my assets to go to this and that person. Mm-hmm. But there has to be a person who's appointed to do that. And as my colleague has just mentioned, that person is called an executor. Mm-hmm. If it's a male, and an executrix if it's a female. Mm-hmm. So that person is his role is to make sure that all your wishes. Remember, when you die, you would say, my wishes are to make sure that my house goes to this person, my asset, my car goes to that person, the executor would have to make sure that your wishes are fulfilled. You have the option to nominate an executor, and it's important that you do so in a will. If you don't do that, then the people who stand to benefit from the will, can nominate or appoint an executor for you. But it's preferable that you have an executor that you appoint, that you nominate in a will.
Can one do without an executor or executress?
No, absolutely not.
So the will is not or the process is not complete when you don't have that.
Yes, remember,
because you will have beneficiaries, but if you don't have the executor,
yes,
then the process is not complete.
Remember, the process is overseen by the master of the High Court. The master is an office that deals with estates.
Right.
But
so, yes.
Can I interrupt? But
yes.
only when that person dies.
Yes.
Right.
You can have your will, and for as long as you're still alive, that we cannot enforce that will.
Yeah.
That will only be enforceable once the testator or the testatrix dies.
Okay. All right. 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. On Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. On Twitter, DOJCD_ZA. We're talking about the importance of drawing up a will and deceased estates. Okay, I think by now most of us are understanding what a will is. It's that special document that you will put together that by the day we should be put accordingly. Should be like you've explained earlier on. Basically, I'm going to go to grassroots as much as I can, because eventually that's what you have, isn't it? True, Mesopa. Eventually, yes, that's what you have. People are fighting over stuff. And are you guys experiencing a lot of that?
We do in the office.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing that I want to add on that very same document we were just talking about, it's not just a document. There are certain requirements that, it must comply with. You don't just write a paper and say, I want to bequeath my estate to so-and-so when I die, but, it must comply with all the requirements for a valid will. Because if it doesn't, when it reaches our office, we're going to either reject it or accept it, depending if it does indeed.
So wala fela mo lo pepeng upala nje pepedi nje uyibhalela nje ayisebenzi kanjalo.
No, you can reduce it into you can do it in writing, or you type it, or you print it, but there are further requirements that goes with it.
Right, let's talk about those requirements. Say, for instance, I've got a piece of paper, I'm writing in my own time, in my own space. No, this is what I want to see happen the day I leave Earth. These are the people that I want to benefit from my estate. What do I do with this piece of paper that I have now in my hand?
Arguably, the most important requirement is that the person who jots the will has to be 16 years or older, and they would have to be of sound mind, obviously. And the further requirements are that the person would have to sign the will. You are indeed the testator that you purport to be. Again, witnesses, 2 witnesses preferably, more than 2 witnesses.
At the time of signing, or
at the time of signing, you have the testator has to sign in the presence of the witnesses, and the witnesses would then have to sign in the presence of each other. You just don't wake up tomorrow and say, I was a witness to a will when the testator was not there, or a further witness was not there. Yes, and obviously, if it's more than 2 pages, you have to initial every other page.
Sign the last one.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And sign the last one.
There we go. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free number if we call in from a landline. Otherwise, if you call in from a cell phone, call in. We'll take your details down and make sure that we call you back. 0800 142 446. Here's another part that I would like us to explain before we go in deeper and deeper with our discussion this evening, and it's deceased estates. Let's explain that one. Ms. Seopa?
The deceased estate is when a person die. Obviously, that person will leave. It can either be property or the very same document, purporting to be your will. And then at the same time, there are also, when we talk of estate, it's not only about assets like property. There are also liabilities which goes with it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Let's talk. Let's find out. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Seopa was saying. No, but seriously, because a lot of people are getting a lot of people think when we talk about estates, but so we talk about liabilities as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's explain that. For instance, what are we talking about?
Let's say, for example, you have a house. The house may be bonded, and with no life cover.
Okay.
So you, as the beneficiaries, at the end of the day, you might be forced to cough up, to pay for that shortfall in the estate.
To continue paying for that bond.
Yes, or to settle the bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't continue to pay for it like you were. You have to settle it. How does it work?
It all depends. You can take over the bond.
Okay.
As maybe the sole beneficiary.
Yeah.
But if you are multiple beneficiaries, people end up opting for, selling the house, set it off, and get the difference.
Right.
At the end of the day.
So if a house is owing, for instance, so you will have to make a plan.
Yes.
Of paying up whatever is owing to the bank.
That's true.
For that house. If the house is not owing, obviously then
you get full title ownership.
Right. 0800 142 446 0800 142 446. It looks like a lot of people are responding now with a lot of questions. I would like to hear from you. Welcome to it if you've just joined us. It's gone 18 minutes after 6 o'clock. This is a live broadcast coming from our studios here in Hatfield in Pretoria. My name is Karabo Lance. This is Let's Talk Justice, and it's episode number 13. My goodness me, we've been going strong and strong and strong. All right, let's find out what people are saying so far and what questions they have. Let's take our first caller, and they're calling from Soshanguve. Mam Dladla. Kunjani ma?
Ngiyaphila mhlekhetha kunjani?
Hey ngiyaphila man, ngiyajabula ukuthi nawe uke wathi hey awuthi ngibabone laba ngeke khulume nabo ngibabuza imibuzo.
Ngiyabonga ngilenkini ngingakala ledlula umhlaba. Kusho ukuthi ngo1998 ngoMashi. Bantshontshela imoto eJustin lami ngilele ebusuku.
Yeah.
Ngihamba ngayireport ekuseni police station eRichard.
Yeah.
Mangikathi kuyireporta ngoMashi ngalo ngahlala ngoSeptember ngayithola mina edrobheni leSquare.
Yeah.
Ngabiza amaphoyisa asithatha saya Central. Wasifika Central senze SAP 13 number bayidonsa ngebreakdown bayise-Content Force.
Okay.
Ngelanga ladelayo ngathatha amaphepha ngawayise-Content Force.
Yeah.
Bafotostata maqede lapho ithe lelanga ngibuyela futhi elangeni elilandelayo bathi kimi lo muntu engithe ushontsha imoto uzela amaphepha bomnikeza imoto.
Okay. So ma ufuna ukwazi yini lo ufuna ukwazi ukuthi uzothola kanjani le moto yakho?
Imoto yami kababa ngoba ngiyahlupheka manje ngayathola yimathupha kodwa manje yalahleka emaphoyiseni.
Okay. Ma what we'll do we'll take your numbers down. Okay? Sizakufonela again. Sizakufonela masiceda.
Okay.
Lo hlelo lethu, yeah.
Ngoba ngiphuma yonke indawo naku Union Building. Ngambe zonke indawo NPA yabo public protector.
Yeah.
Abo legal aid wonke le ndawo ngandile.
100%. Ungawari ke ma. We'll see what direction we can point you out to. Sizakunceda ma ungawari. Sizakunceda at the end of the show, okay?
Ngiyabonga mtaka baba wami.
Awuzweke umamdladla ke.
Mtaka wawa.
Awuzweke. 20 minutes after 6 o'clock. And that's what we're here for. You'll be talking about one thing and somebody would think, hey, but these guys, I've heard them quite a number of times and they were able to help others. Maybe let me just squeeze in you can't close your doors for them. And that's what we're here for as government, actually.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Mamdladla will definitely answer your question. If not answering your question at the end of the show, don't worry about it. We'll take your details down. We'll put you in touch with somebody who can definitely point you out in the right direction. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. While we're waiting for the other callers to call in at the moment, I've got a very special announcement that I would like to announce to you now. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, they're calling on TRC identified victims. Okay, I want you to listen to this very, very carefully now, because this might just affect you. They're calling on the TRC identified victims of apartheid that were declared as such by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to apply for assistance with tuition fees for basic and higher education training. It's important that you know this, okay? You might be asking, okay, how does it work? Let me tell you about the closing date first. The closing date is on the 30th of September 2016. And the application forms, if you want to start applying, you can get the application forms available at all the courts around South Africa. You can go to your regional offices and the national offices then. Otherwise, if you've got access to internet, you can go to the internet as well. Go to justice.gov.za. That gov is spelled G-O-V. So it's www.justice.gov.za. Otherwise, you can call Vivia Jacobs on 012-315-1801. That's 012-315-1801. So that's the Department of Justice there, together with the TRC identified victims of apartheid, calling on you to apply for that assistance that they're providing to you. Okay, so we're still talking about issues of drawing up a will and deceased estates, and we've tapped on the beneficiaries and the associates and so forth, and there might be just technicalities that goes on with this. Do you ever get situations where a will is contested?
Yes.
And how do people deal with that? If I've got my will, I've drawn it up, I've gone through the process that you've spoken about, my will contains beneficiaries, it also contains the executors as well. I suppose that's the basics. It's signed, it's approved, the office has accepted it, and it's there. Now, come that day, there's contestation that's happening there. How do we deal with that? Or what could be some of the reasons why you would get such a thing?
There's almost invariably contestations when somebody dies, when somebody passes on. That's why it's very important to have a will and to make sure that the will that you have is kept safely. Normally, wills would be drafted by lawyers, and lawyers would ensure that they are kept safely, so that in the event of your death, there is no much contestation about it. But you may find at times that people, for some reason, would contest how the estate has to be divided and what have you. Mm-hmm. That's why the Master's Office is very, very important, because it oversees all that process. But as to what the testator can do, the testator has what we call freedom of testation. So you have the entire freedom to do as you please with your assets. You may very well want to say, I want to donate my house to the SPCSA when I die. If that is contained in a proper will, then the law would respect your wishes. Mm-hmm. It's so important, because if you die intestate, you die without a will, then contestations and issues and controversies would arise even more than when you have a will. Yes.
All right. So you call it
interstate.
So that's dying without a will.
That is dying without a will.
Which was one thing that I'm going to ask you. So what happens if you do die without a will?
We apply the Interstate Succession Act. So we apply the rules there. It actually guides us as to who should benefit when, how.
Okay. Tell us just a little bit about that act.
For example, I will just talk about the rules. If, for example, the deceased died having left the spouse,
Okay.
and there are no descendants, that spouse will inherit everything in that particular estate. And then that is the first rule. If the deceased is survived by the descendants only, again the same thing will apply. The descendants will get their share, they will get their equal share.
Right.
And if the deceased is survived by the spouse and the descendants, now what we do, we look at the matrimonial regime, regulating the marriage of the deceased and the surviving spouse.
Mm-hmm.
If they are married in community of property, for example, we will first divide the estate into half, because that surviving spouse is entitled to her half share in terms, or his half share in terms of the marriage in community of property.
Right.
And then the remaining half share, that's where the spouse will get what we call a child's share, which is now 250,000, or whichever is great at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To give a practical example, for example, if maybe the estate is worth $1 million, the surviving spouse is entitled to 500,000, and then the remaining 500,000, she's entitled to a child's share. So a child share, is calculated by the number of the descendants plus that particular one spouse.
Okay.
If, for example, we have 2 descendants plus 1 spouse, so it's 2 plus 1.
Right.
So it's 3.
Okay.
So that 500,000 rand will be divided by 3.
Okay.
So I don't have the calculator with me.
Yes. Don't ask me about mathematics. Don't ask me about it. But I'm sure it's clear.
Yeah. So
scenario, R1 million, 500 rand goes to the spouse.
Yeah.
The remaining 500 rand, depending if the descendants, if there are any calculations come into place, the spouse plus the descendants,
yes,
you calculate that remaining money, and then it will be split.
Yeah, there is a child share of 250,000,
right,
of which I think that's what she's gonna get here,
and then
the remaining 250,000 will be divided between the 2 descendants.
And then very quick,
the effect of what my colleague is saying, Kore, will the law takes over. The law of interstate succession that she's talking about. But apply that formula that she referred to,
right,
to divide your will,
right,
to wind up your estate.
Right.
Yes, sorry.
All right, great stuff.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, let's do that quickly.
Yeah,
right.
The other implication thereof is that with the interstate succession, there are people whom you didn't intend to benefit who might come and claim your estate.
Precisely.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, maybe maybe you didn't know that you have a child outside of the marriage, or you do know that you do have a child outside of the marriage. That child, like any other of your children within the marriage, is also entitled to.
Or maybe you deliberately wanted to disinherit somebody.
Exactly.
You have the freedom of testation to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when you die without a will, when the law of interstate succession applies, the person that you so wanted to disinherit would then benefit, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, that's without a will.
Yes.
That is without a will.
Obviously, when there's a will, you take priority.
We respect your wishes. The law would respect your wishes.
Let's go to Bongiwe from Soweto. Good evening to you, Bongiwe. Sis Bongiwe.
Yebo,
Sawubona, kunjani?
sikhona njani baba?
Ngiyaphila. Umbuzo wakho uthini ma?
Umbuzo wami uthi ubhuti wami kwakuse sihlala ekhaya ne. So abanye kusekhaya. Ubhuti wakhe amaroom ekhaya.
Yeah.
And then washona. Uthi makashona, and then bathe wilini ubhale umntanakhe uthi umntanakhe ufuneka eza zocollecta imali rent yamaroom ekhaya, but unendlu yakhe somewhere.
Okay, le ndlu lesikhuluma ngayo le ubhuti akhe amaroom kuyo yakabani?
Yakababa nomamami nobhuti wami naye, family.
Right. Umama nobaba basaphila?
No, bashonile umama, kwashona ubaba.
When they passed on, bake bayeki will?
No, azange benze will manje baba.
Okay, I thought, yeah. Okay, Sis Bongi, listen on the radio. We'll answer that one, eh?
Okay then.
Let's go to Daniel, Free State. Daniel, good evening. Daniel?
Endare,
Le kae ntate?
re teng.
Re teng, potso ya hao e reng?
Endare.
Potso ya hao e reng, Daniel?
Okay, ke Willicah Seopa mo le Ntate Mapheto.
Eh,
Ke ne ke botsa hore re willing re le bana ba ntate a le mong e bile hore re fumana hore ho na le bana ba babedi bo ntate wa ka a na le bona ka thoko in so called marriage. So re fumana hore re tseka thepa e le nngwe kaofela hore na ha e le jwalo na re lekela ko hore na re etse jwang.
Okay, thepa ena le buang ka yona ena, ntate o ile a tlohela setlankana. Ha ke re setlankana ke bua ka yona will. O ile a e tlohela will.
A ke re ha ne a re bontsha re lekile makwetha for re ke makwetha fela hore ho tsena le bana ba ka saiteng e nngwe ba entseng ile I mean ba etseng ile le bona.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I'm suspecting there might be some what we just spoke about now, the Interstate Act. I think it came into effect here. All right, Daniel, we'll see what we can do with it. Ne?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, Daniel from the Free State. Let's go to Florence Dube. Florence?
Hello.
Le kae mme?
Re teng le kae?
Re teng mme wa ka. Potso ya hao e reng?
Potso ya ka re na le ntlo ne. Monna ka o ile hlokofala ka 98. Me ke ntse ke patala bond. Ka qeta bond. Jone ke batla hore e change e bitse lebitso la ka.
Okay.
Ba re tshwantse ke be le tjhelete. Okay, ka thola di-lawyer tse ding ka di founela. Ba re tshwantse ke be le 8,000. Jone a ke sa sebetsa.
Okay, me Florence, this house e re buang ka yona ena. Wena or o no patela will akere? I beg your pardon. Sorry, no patela bond. Jeez, the will thing is coming to my head now. Yes. So o no patela bond akere?
Ya monna ka a isileng.
Oh, in what is so am I right?
No, it doesn't really matter as long as they're married in community of property.
Let's find that out. Were you married in community of property?
Yes.
Okay. All right. While she's on the line, would you like to quickly maybe just say to her?
No. Ke ka mokgwa buang ka teng ge ba nyalane in community of property, then in any event ntlo ela ne belong to the joint estate.
Right.
Ge ntate a tlhokofala, you don't necessarily have to change libitso mona title deed because ke ntlo ya hao in any event.
Okay, now this issue of buang ka yona. Me Florence, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
You saying ba batla tšhelete?
Ba itse ke tse tšhelete hore ba change.
Yes. Ye ba buang ka yona ke ntwe di conveyancers ba ibitsa go endorsement. Ira go no re e tlo tlhalosa mo title deeding gore ntate o tlokofetse go a sala lebitso la mme fela.
But it's an endorsement fee basically.
It's just an endorsement fee, but the effect of it ino swana le ge a ka se change ka molao wa recognize gore ke ena se seng le ntlo.
But if a force a change, this is what she will be facing.
Then she would have to pay the fees that the conveyancer have quoted her.
Okay, me Florence, so I understand that this thing your endorsement fee. It's actually it's a legal thing that's supposed to happen. You are insisting the names should be changed. Yes. But my guests studio, they're saying you don't even have to change it.
No.
Am I saying because you're saying if she was married in community of property?
No, they do make the endorsement.
Okay.
There will definitely be there will definitely be an endorsement.
Okay.
We call it section 45(1) endorsement. That they need to do.
Just to explain, remember title deed imba mo go this office. Mo this office imba tseba ele monna le mosadi ba ownang the property. Belong ka gore ntate tlhokofetse. She wants to reflect herself as the only owner mona. Ke yona endorsement eo. Era gore bo fitla ba ntshe lebitso la ntate. Ke yona endorsement eo. Di lawyer ba tlo batla madi ba tlo batla tšhelete eo just to do the endorsement.
Why would I get a Florence?
But what I want to find out from her, did she report her husband's estate?
Yes, I did all the things.
Okay.
Okay, and you've got everything, all the documents that you need, death certificates and everything.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay, Me Florence, then there's nothing foul about it. It's just a procedure that they're taking. A fee that you would have to pay for that process to go forward.
Okay, then I'll get my title deed.
Yeah.
Yes. Would like to know.
And then in the name of the house, it's only me. What's going to happen if I passed away? Because they didn't put my children there.
The will.
But
We were
the
just
will say I leave the house with Florence and my children.
Which will are you talking about now?
The will that my husband did.
No, remember now you have to draft your own will. You must have your own will now.
Bank. Yes, I did at the bank.
Where you're gonna bequeath all your estate to your children.
So Me Florence,
Your husband's will is no longer is not gonna work on your estate,
behalf,
on
when
your
I'm
behalf,
when
unless
I passed away.
yes, unless there is further provision if you made a joint will.
Yes.
Sometimes it goes further to say, should the last dying, leave no will, for example. This will be the I don't know how to put it, but there is a way that they do it in the wills, that the very same will can still work even beyond.
Yeah. But in this instance, Me Florence, just so we don't take other people's time, in this instance, William Tate is in action. You're the one who has what belonged to Ntate at the moment, because Wena and the kids. Now the next step is this. Wena now, you're gonna have to go and do a will of that house and other estates and so on.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Me Florence. There we go. Let's go to Kolani. Kolani?
No.
Kolani.
Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, and you, my brother?
No, I'm good, man. I thought you dropped me again because you dropped me twice.
Apologies.
Man, why are you doing this to me?
Apologies.
Anyway, I'm Kolani from Nkubela Community Radio Station in Port Elizabeth. My question is regards to the beneficiary and the will. It goes at once. Is there a certain age where you put one to be a beneficiary for you, so that when that time comes, and then that person can actually be the one that is consulted? I'm talking about maybe perhaps if, let's say, you've got a kid who's less than 15 years old, can you put that person as a beneficiary to your will?
Yes, you can. But what is also being done in the very same will?
No, that's fine. He's still listening.
Okay, they will make sure that, because the child is, the child is still a minor. Maybe you make a provision in the will that a trust be created for that child until he reach or she reach a certain age. Age limit. Yeah, she reach a certain age, maybe 21 or 25, before she can be in full control of the assets that were bequeathed to her or to him.
So that will be at the time when you draft the will. Like at the time when you draft the will, this child is a minor.
Yes.
So basically when you draft, you're saying, but he's a minor.
That's correct.
So should anything happen to me now, he's a minor. So then you put steps in place.
Yes.
But you can project for when he gets to this age, then is that what's happening?
Yes.
Yes. The nice thing about freedom of testation is that you can also put in conditionalities in the will. You could say, ke batla ngwana a fetsa sekolo pele a benefit or whatever, ke batla ngwana when he reaches 21 go etsagale so. So that's the very nice thing about living a will, where you can, in a sense, rule from the grave.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Mm.
20 minutes before 7 o'clock. 0800 142 446. Facebook and Twitter, are they alive? Not yet. Okay, we'll get to Facebook and Twitter later, but we do have somebody on the line at the moment. Walter is calling from Pretoria. Good evening to you, Walter.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Walter, I'm very well, and yourself, sir?
Good. Look, I have a situation here. There was my mom had a situation like this. She was married to the guy, and then they were married probably for 5 years. And then the guy decided to go back into his house. They already bought a house somewhere in cash, and the guy had children there inside of Soweto. So what happened is when him and my mother separated, he went and wrote the will behind my mom. And the will was saying my mom she's not entitled to anything. So the guy passed away in 2003. And now there's a will. The will says him and my mom are married out of communal property, which is not the case. Now, there are two houses in the will. One is all of them he was giving to his children. So now, my mom has been tortured this guy passed away. So my mom can't change the will, can't have the house, because the guy said is not entitled to anything. But now, the thing is now, they are not even implementing the will. So what is the scenario then? They are married in community of property.
How do you know them? I'm just trying to find. How do you know that they're married in community of property?
Well, my mom's got a marriage certificate, and I went to master. Apparently, they are married out of community of property. There has to be a criminal something in a master court, which is not there. But now the thing is now the estate has been. It looks like they are because from their side they've managed to change the ownership of the house from that side.
Okay, Dr. Walter, hold on to the line. In fact, just listen on the radio. We'll try how, and if you're not getting any clarity, or if you're not satisfied, or phone it back, and then we'll try to explain it. Please let's know this one. I'll tell you why. I just want us to take other callers quickly. We've got so many people calling in at the moment. I don't want a lot of people to lose out. Let's go to, is it Hannah from Paris? Hannah?
It's Hannah from Paris. I just tore up a will from my broker.
Say again, Hannah, what you say?
Just drawn up the will.
Oh, you've drawn up a will with your yeah?
With my broker, but I didn't mention any executor. Is that a problem or not?
It's not a problem per se, but it might delay the whole process, when that time comes that, they somebody be appointed to administer your estate. So it makes life easier for everyone if you nominate an executor in your will.
Okay, can I do my brother or my brother-in-law or my mom? No, my mom is too old. My sister. Somebody like that.
Whoever you feel comfortable with. But the problem is those people, they must have expertise, to do their work. Because at the end of the day,
to do the work.
If you appoint your sister and he doesn't have the expertise, from our side as the Office of the Master, we're going to request her to get somebody to assist her with the whole administration process.
Okay, so thank you very much.
What would your advice be? Does she go back and maybe get an executor?
Yes, I think it's better if there is somebody nominated. It makes it will make everybody's life easier.
Are you happy, Hannah?
I'm happy. Thank you very much. I enjoy your program. It's very helpful and learnful.
Thank you so much, Khaniti Ann. There we go. Bit of
enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
Oh, there we go. I wanted to squeeze in a bit of yeah. All right, let's go to the Eastern Cape. Takalani FM being represented this evening. One of our partners on the show, together with Ngubela, that's just called earlier on. I wonder where the guys at Vukani and the guys at Kanya, the guys at Alfred and Zo, where are these guys? Well, would like to hear from you as well. Lebohang Kasipe. Good evening to you, Lebohang Kasipe.
It's Ikram from Radio Atlantis.
All right, let's go to Ikram. Ikram, I beg your pardon there. Ikram, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, I just need to know something. I am the Drive Time show host for Radio Atlantis in Cape Town.
Right.
And we had a similar discussion once on one of our programs. And the interesting thing is that what happens in a case where a family, especially the head of the house, didn't actually write out any will at all, and that particular person passed away, and the family is now sitting with this particular predicament as to who is actually getting the house. So what happens when, like I say, the father passed away? Now there's like in 4 or 5 kids that is now actually fighting to get custody of that particular premises that they basically lived in. All of the kids, all of the siblings are now staying in the house, and everyone tries to be the head of the house. Are there any particular laws or any rules that these people can go through, seeing that there's no will that has been written out, that they can go to and say, listen, I'm the eldest, or maybe I'm the more suitable person, or I'm the person that can look after the premises. Are there anything in place for them to actually get an answer out of?
Thank you so much, Ikram. Thank you so much for your call.
Pleasure stuff.
I think a lot of people have got that question.
Yes.
Maybe let's start with that.
Well, firstly, you've got to ensure that the estate, when the father passes on, the estate is reported. And as we have previously said, if there is no will, then the heirs themselves, the beneficiaries, would then have to sit amongst themselves and appoint an executor. And that executor would help in how the estate is wound up. But the laws, as we said, the laws of interstate succession will then have to apply. That formula that my colleague referred to, where you divide the estate with the number of heirs, and each would then get a child's share. That would then apply in that case.
All right. There's one issue that I've heard about, now that you're talking about the interstate succession, relating to this very issue that Ikram has just spoken about, of the house. There's one particular beneficiary who, for instance, Waigodishan Grill does renovations and improve the house, the value of the house goes up, and then these conflicts come into the picture. What would happen there? Because one can claim, or no, I hear, this we're gonna have to get equal share, whatever. But I had invested in the house. What happens then?
But who gave him the authority in the first place to do that?
Because they started doing this when the parents were still alive. The parents even gave them a blessing.
This touches on a slightly different area of the law, but the long and short of it is that the owner of the house still remains the owner of the house, even when you make improvements to the house. Yes. So the mere fact that you've improved the house does not ipso facto make you the owner thereof. Right, so you can make improvements on the house, but if the house is owned by X, it still remains X property. So in your very specific case, if say the elder son who then makes improvements and he wants to get more, that cannot be the position. The position says in interstate succession you get an equal share with the rest of the heirs.
Okay, Okay, let's go to the telephone lines quickly. Apparently callers are complaining that we're not answering their questions. We just try to accommodate as many people as we can. Let's go back to some of those questions that came in. For instance, we had Ishria Daniel with the outside kids. Remember that one that we said we're going to hang it?
Yes.
Your response to that?
Daniel, from what I understood, the father had 2 kids out of wedlock. And you would have 2 kids and would Daniel involved on the other side. All these are the deceased kids, all of them. Whether you're born out of wedlock or not, you still benefit equally because you are a descendant of the deceased.
Unless if the will states otherwise. But from what I see here, Daniel's father died interstate. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Bongiwe? His brother passed on?
What do you room from yes. What I remember?
Yes.
Bongiwe, the brother passed on. It sort of relates to the question, Ikram. The brother made improvements or developments on the property, but as I said, it doesn't make the brother the owner of the property. The brother stands in the very same position as other children of the deceased.
Okay. Issue one thing that I wanted to bring to the whole works, the culture and the customs. There is no will in place, but yet maybe all these kids no Papa Urile. How do we sort that out? Papa Urile Mapheto ke na tla shala limku ya.
Papa utlogetse will.
Aside
it's just unfortunate for them.
It means the law would then apply, and the law is blind because in fact you would remember that in our customs the principle of male primogeniture, if you are the eldest son, then you would inherit.
Yes.
But our law says every custom that we practice has to be consistent with the Constitution. So you cannot discriminate against people because they are girls or they are young or whatever.
So what you're saying as custom or tradition or culture,
put it on the wheel.
Put it on the wheel.
Yes.
Basically. Okay, 100%. Let's talk Walter. Walter's mom was married for 5 years to this gentleman.
It should be very simple to find out how the parties were married. Walter's mother and the father and the stepfather. It should be very simple.
Well, we did ask him, and he mentioned only a marriage certificate that projects they're married in community of property.
Yet he says when he went to the deeds office or to the masters, they told him it's out of community of property. So that's the starting point. And it's very simple to do that. If you're married out of community of property, it's either you are so married ka accrual or without an accrual. But it's like I said, it's very easy because the document would then have to be lodged in the deeds office, what we call the anti-nuptial contract.
Okay.
So it's very easy. I would recommend, with a limited time, that he must at least seek legal assistance, and then he can surely be assisted.
Okay.
It sounds like a very sensitive case that would require that he's assisted.
It does, but also I'm worried about not necessarily trying to Arab and trying to sort it out, but. He says he's got a marriage certificate, and yet totally different. Does it happen really? You would have a marriage certificate that projects you're married in community of property, but then when you go to the deeds office, it's out of community. How do you have the two? Does it happen? Do you have cases like that?
Unless there's been several marriages, but if it's one marriage, the documents,
several marriages of the same people.
Of the same the stepfather.
Yeah.
The stepfather has been married several times or whatever. But normally, if you are married, the document would be retained by the Home Affairs, and the parties would have the document. And like I said, if there's a marriage out of community of property, there would be document lodged with the deeds office. It's normally very simple to find out from Home Affairs. It looks, unfortunately, that he's just being taken from pillar to post, and that normally happens when you don't have legal assistance.
Okay, Walter, seek legal assistance. If you don't come right, give us a call. Give us a call, and then we'll try to help you further. Let's go to Lebo Takalani. Libs.
Yebo.
Yes, sir. Your question, please. Good evening.
Baby, man kina le putso tete, putso apili kina le buang khasipe mona lo northeastern kita ka tokadi. Ya pele putso e mabapi le haide o gona o etsa o ka gona o etsa willy o linka ja sebetsang without kapo o etsa magoeta fela dina without consulting anyone go tlo bua ka hore ka mele bana di witness without having any witnesses, because ke dintho tse tsalang nowadays o fumane batho ba se ba hlokaetse o tshunana le mmoli kapo nana le goeta, all those things, and then willy etsa makatsi le ejina. Is it possible go be jwalo na? And then ya bobedi ke a o katela ntate putsuna e bang ntate o na le bomme ba babedi a keta o ba le bomme ba babedi a de a hlokahala a sa etsa kwa even a will. How are you going to deal with that? Because at the end of the day, fumana hore batho ba botwa ka bo that endorsement, and then after endorsement you na a letter of authority. How does that one work? Community radio mre.
How are you going to deal with that as if I'm the one who's supposed to deal with it? Kanala Braga, thank you so much for calling. Hey, how am I going to deal with it? I'm just joking, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in. Eitara. Okay, let's go to the next question. Anonymous from El Dorado Park. Anonymous from El Dorado Park. Okay, we've lost Anonymous there. All right, let's track back. Let's start with Lebo and we'll track our way back. let's start with the last one. The one who had 2 wives.
When the suggestion, the assumption that I would make, the deceased was married in terms of customary law. The customary law is governed by a different law, a different act, by its Recognition of Customary Marriages Act. If he is married to these women, customary law, then it is assumed that they are married in community of property. So, if he's left a will, then he can do
as he pleases. He'll direct whatever.
At least that portion, at least his portion of the estate.
Yeah.
But if he's not left a will, then again the law of interstate succession would apply,
Okay.
and the women would, and the women
Would
share equally,
including if there are children.
Yes, the same.
It goes back to the formula we spoke about.
Yes.
You see, I've learned.
You've learned very very quickly. If he doesn't have witnesses, remember that.
Yeah, the witnesses must they apply that will yourself.
No. A will has to have witnesses, has to be signed by witnesses. I think the requirements, a document to be a will.
Or so even at the lawyers.
Even at the lawyers.
Okay.
Remember, and from what I understood, confusion, because he presupposes maybe the witnesses are people who know you. Okay. They don't necessarily have to know you as such. They have to witness that they saw you sign the will.
Can be anyone.
Can be anyone. As long as they are witnessing the signing, the signature, your signature to the will.
They don't even have to know the contents of the will.
They don't have to know the contents of the will.
Okay, all right, okay, 100%. Anonymous Eldorado Park.
Yes.
Good evening to you.
Sorry?
Good evening. What is your question?
You know what I want to know? I'm staying with a man, and he's 28 years separated from his wife. And I told him to go divorce, and so she don't want to sign the paper. So what must I do? If anything happened to him, and he is a sickly man, because I'm looking after him and I'm working. So,
how long have you been staying with him?
We've been 9 years.
Okay, all right, and he has not divorced his wife yet.
She don't want to sign the papers.
Okay.
So he still loves his
wife.
There is a thing like self-divorce, man.
All right, let's see.
The procedure should be very very simple for the man. Remember, you would serve, if you want to sue for divorce, you would serve the other party with a summons, and if she doesn't want to sign the summons, then you can go to court and apply for what they call default judgment. It doesn't necessarily mean that if she doesn't sign, then the process comes to a halt. But again, that is a process that is normally undertaken by legally qualified people who would assist you. The mere fact that she doesn't want to sign does not bring a stop to these problems. The problem, though, is that you are without protection. If he dies at this moment, unfortunately, God forbid, if he dies at this moment, then she the wife stands to benefit, and unfortunately you won't benefit anything.
Yes, I know and I understand. But then if she in the marriage, she had a child when she was married to him, what's going to start happen?
Yes, the child was between her and your now boyfriend, right?
No, she got a child
with a different man.
With another man, yeah.
Yes, no, it's not his child. So the child would not benefit anything. But if you have children with him, then the children would benefit by virtue of interstate succession if he doesn't have a will.
Right.
Okay. But again, the other point is, did this child who was fathered by another man not adopted by the current husband?
No, he don't want the child.
Okay.
All right. Okay, you happy there, Anonymous?
Yes.
Thank you so much for calling in. Let's go to Katleho in Midrand. Katleho Midrand? Katleho in Midrand.
Hello.
Katleho, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. What is your question?
Yes. It's just a quick one. I want to know who's an executor. Can I appoint anyone that I know, or that is a lawyer or someone who works in the master's court?
Okay.
Master's office.
Thank you so much, Katla. Katla, I'm smiling because, hey, happy what Racha, bade. You want to put people who we know. Are there any floor open?
Is there a fee involved? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. If you live, if you die and you have left a will and somebody is appointed as an executor, that executor is entitled to a prescribed fee of 3.5% of the total value of your estate.
Okay.
And then
does it have to be a lawyer, or can it be any person that I know? It can be my relative, my sister.
Yeah, preferably somebody with expertise, because if you nominate your sister, from the master's office side, we're gonna request you to get somebody to assist you with the whole administration process. So at the end of the day, the agent of your sister will be the one, doing the work, and then he or she will have to get, to be paid at the end of the day. And then the master's office can never be the executor of the estate, because we are the ones who oversee the whole process. We regulate the whole process.
So in a sense, although you can appoint anybody to be an executor, it's preferable that you appoint somebody with some expertise, a lawyer perhaps.
Yes.
Or even the banks.
Or the financial institutions, yes.
Right, are you happy there, Katleho?
Yes, I'm happy. Thank you very much.
Much. Let's go to Eldos. We're going back to Eldos and we're speaking to Venon. Venon being our last caller, gentlemen. Venon being our last caller. Good evening to you, Venon. Good evening to you, Venon.
Hi, how are you doing, Grabo?
I'm very well, thank you so much. We just had a finger problem there, and I could see that finger problem. All right, Venon, my producer is threatening to kill me. All right, what is your question, sir?
I'm listening via Eldos FM.
Good stuff.
Quickly, I heard they mentioned that if there's witnesses, it helps with the whole process. What if a husband died and he was old school, like he would just write a letter, put it in an envelope, and told his wife, "Listen, you open this when I'm dead." Right?
Sorry, Venom, it sounded like a movie, man.
It sounded like a movie, right? So he would basically, when he died, he actually got married for the second time before he died, right? But he left this letter with his first wife.
Yes.
So when he died,
it's a movie script.
When he died in his second marriage, the first wife came and they opened it and said, "Listen, this guy says all the stuff goes to my wife and kids. At the moment, the first wife is not the wife. So how do they deal with it?"
Yes.
Did they divorce each other?
Yeah, the first wife is divorced, but she has the letter. He didn't write anything for the new wife.
Yeah, so it means, he intended benefiting you at the end of the day, because normally you are given 3 months, to amend your will after divorce.
Yeah, now he didn't do that. Like I said, he's like old school. So he just left it with the first wife and totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for the poor woman there, because she will have to, if they are married in community of property, she will still get a share in terms of marriage.
The current woman.
Yes.
Right.
And then
but what? Let's say that letter's dated. Vernon, I'm just going to be like you and just extend this movie, really. Take it to a higher level altogether.
We can write this movie, man.
What if it's dated and the date correlates with when he was still married with the first wife?
Yes, the first wife is the one with the letter.
With the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he died while he was in the second marriage.
Yes.
So, and also the sad thing about the letter is he didn't state names to say my wife, so and so, or my kids. So he just says wife and kids. So at the moment when he died, he was with the second wife, but the first one has the letter. Wife and kids at the time when he died was number 2.
You see, hence the purpose of this discussion, of this program, that firstly, he must make sure that whatever letter that he leaves complies with the requirements of a will. You can't just jot something down and call it a will. So it's important that whoever wants to speak about how the estate would wind up goes to properly qualified people who do a proper will for them.
Exactly, man. Because it's an issue, man.
All right. Thank you so much, Vernon. I appreciate it. I was going to close the show, but they've just put one more question. Let me ask for 1 more minute, and we'll try to rush through it. It's a question that came through social media, if I'm not mistaken, and it says Alfred is married in community of property with his wife, and he caught her cheating. You guys are writing scripts, I can tell you now. And he caught her cheating. Now Alfred wants to write a will and put his 3 kids to inherit the house and shares. What does he do in order the wife doesn't get? Anything? Yeah, these guys.
Yeah. But some of these are real life scenarios, by the way.
Yeah, but Veron's one. Hey. Yes. Okay, but this one here. Let's tackle that one quickly.
Remember, this is a joint estate. They are married in community of property. Anyone is at liberty to make a will, and you can choose whoever your beneficiaries are. So if Alfred decides to benefit his children in their will, his wife automatically is entitled to half share of that joint estate, regardless. So she cannot say.
So Alfred can deal with that part of the estate that belongs to
him.
Remember, it's a joint estate. If you're married in community of property, the estate is joined between the parties.
Even if my will, even if I say I'm full Yamalia,
you will be talking about your part.
Yes. Okay,
yes.
I know that's nice.
She would be automatically entitled to 50% of the joint estate.
Okay. All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Here's my suggestion to the producers. Let's do it again sometime. It's a big one. You can see the influx of callers. We are unable to take as big. I mean, the phone rings. The phone is still ringing even at the moment. So we can't take everybody. Time is too short for that. But thank you so much to everybody that's called in. We really, really appreciate it. I learned quite a lot myself. I think when I leave here, I'm going to resign. Thank you so much to Mr. Theo Mapheto, and he's the attorney at Mapheto Attorneys. Dr. Theo, thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting us.
And thank you so much to the lovely Miss Willicah Seopa, and he's Assistant Master at the Office of the Chief Master of the High Court. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you, and goodbye to all the listeners.
Thank you to all the radio stations that have called in and participated this evening. Thank you so much to my producers as well, Tamsanga on the phones, as well as Mr. Regis Senyani on the sound. They are really, really appreciated. From myself, Karabalans, Strolana Samapedil Matebele. Let's meet again next week or the other week. There we go. Enjoy your evening.